Okay, that was your jump scare for the video, I promise. But this is D. And this game, for me, was something that I always saw in magazines that really kind of creeped me out. It's very old. It came out in 1995, developed by Warp. It was actually published by Panasonic and Acclaim. It came out for the Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, MS-DOS. This game was made on a whole bunch of Amiga computers by a developer named Kenji Eno. It's very, very creepy. Essentially, it's about this woman named Laura that has to go visit her father that took over a hospital and started murdering everybody. I'm not going to spoil the plot for you, but this is essentially a Myst-style point-and-click adventure game. Really, really weird. Very short game. Under an hour, you can play through this entire game. A little bit difficult. Definitely a game you'd want to wait to play after a while because there's really only one path to completing this game correctly. Very atmospheric. Very good rendered graphics for the time. And I played this game mostly on DOS. That's how I captured the video footage here. And yeah, it's a very, very creepy game. Gets under your skin. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, to be honest with you, as far as the storyline, because you find out essentially that, you know, your dad is Dracula. I don't know how that really works. And the graphics nowadays are a little bit dated, to say the least, but it still looks really creepy and gritty. And it's very, very morbid and dark. And the music and atmosphere is amazing. And the level design is pretty awesome too. So I would definitely check this game out. You can get it on Good Old Games. You can get it on PlayStation 1. Those are probably the easiest ways to play it. This is D, the video game. This is Clive Barker's Undying. Clive Barker is an excellent writer, if you're not familiar with him. He was kind of like Stephen King, in that he wrote a lot of horror novels. Still does. Great writer. Came up with the Hellraiser series. You guys probably know that one. But this game was written with the code Unreal Engine 1. And it's a really, really interesting atmospheric shooter that has some puzzle elements as well. It's a bit clunky. And when I went back to play this game, which I hadn't in quite some time, it's definitely a dated experience. I got it for $1 off GOG, Good Old Games, and it's really good. It came out in 2001. It has some kind of corny voice acting, but I really, really enjoy it, and there's a magic system in this game, and more interestingly, it has a great story, and it's essentially about this guy that comes to this castle to visit his friend that is... He's supposedly dead, but he's not. He's in another room very sick, or he's about to die. And the whole place, the whole mansion, the castle, if you will, is completely haunted by all these ghosts. So you're always being interrupted in what you're doing by all these like creeped out ghosts. And this game is like really dark. It's really, really dark. The art style is a bit limited because of the timing, but this came out in 2001. It's another game that has kind of a Victorian vibe to it as far as the art style and the time period. If you can't tell a trend here, I'm really kind of into that stuff. But this is a pretty good game. I would love to see Undying get an actual proper remake. This was Clive Barker's The Undying. I would recommend this game. Not as challenging as the previous game D to get back into because of the first-person shooter mechanics.
Patrick, I know it sounds like the ravings of a dying man, but I believe those standing stones had something to do with this. What has once been a taint upon this family has now begun to manifest itself.
But you told me you're dying. Doesn't this curse end with you?
Who knows? My brothers and sisters are dead, but I don't think they're really gone. I've heard some servants...
My hand. It's... Good God. It's the hand of a woman. What has this vile bastard done to me?
You can stand, and you're walking. No residual dizziness? Excellent. Can you hear me? Anything? Perhaps you can read lips. No, no. You must be able to hear. Perhaps the cat's got your tongue. You've no idea how close to the truth that statement is.
Okay, it's true. I made this entire video just to show you guys this game. And yeah, that is Tim Curry. This is one of the many fun projects that he did in the 90s. This game came out in 1995. It was published by Interplay. It was developed by Amazing Media. Really, really interesting Myst-style point-and-click game. It's based on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, of course, but it's got Tim Curry playing Dr. Frankenstein himself. This game is actually really funny because he just kind of pops up randomly and just starts, you know, berating you in different ways the more you try to figure things out in the game. And eventually you, of course, as the monster, who's an interesting twist to be playing as in this game, you have to find your way out of Castle Frankenstein. This is a really hard game. There's a particular part of this game where you're like trying to work your way through a maze. I mean, as a kid, it took me forever to figure this out. And I first heard about this game because I got a PC Gamer magazine CD back in the 90s, and there was like a short little intro demo of this game that you could play for about 10 minutes, I think. And I was blown away that Tim Curry was in this game because I had just got off playing Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Father, and I was really a big fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Anything with Tim Curry is worth playing. This is actually a really difficult game to get running. I have the big box PC edition of this game complete. It's not on Good Old Games. There is free ways to play this game through Virtual PC. That's probably the only really comprehensive way to play this outside of using extremely dated hardware. But this is Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster. Really cool point-and-click game. Love it. We had to do a break from some of these older games that are kind of hard to play, and for some of you, maybe even hard to get into. But it's not like I'm talking about a new game here. This is the original 2008 Dead Space. I played this game on PC. Originally, though, I played it on the Xbox 360, and this is one of the most terrifying survival horror games I've ever played. It takes place in space, and the storyline is really, really good. It has a lot of similar to Resident Evil mechanics, but also blends a Metroidvania style where you can unlock things with your suit, unlock parts of the level that you can go back to. Very large game, pretty long, really creepy story. The enemies in this game are terrifying. I mean, they can jump out at any time from anywhere. You can't just shoot them in the head and like one shot kill them. You have to dismember them, get them on the ground and stomp them to death. It's a gruesome, gratuitously violent game with dense atmosphere, excellent sound design, really good graphics for the time. I always used to describe this game as Metroid Prime for adults because it's kind of similar the way it looks, but it's a lot more violent, and it's, oh my gosh, it's so dark. This is like space gothic right here. Really, really fun game. Dead Space 2, great game as well. Dead Space 3, not so much, but Dead Space 1 is pretty good. Didn't put the remake on here because I actually haven't played it yet, but I'm hearing it's pretty decent. But you can't go wrong with the original. This is another game I picked up really inexpensive on the digital marketplace on PC on Good Old Games. No, I'm not running an ad for them. I just really like their service, and I really like the variety that they have, and their pricing is extremely competitive. Dead Space originally came out for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Microsoft Windows in 2008. Really, really good, terrifying survival horror game that used to stress me out to play. Dead Space.
Nice to see you're alive and well, Hammond. I've barricaded myself in the computer core. I can hear them moving outside, but I don't think they know I'm in here. I can launch into everything from here. I hacked the route and found some reports from the colony. Even before they cracked the planet, the colonists were experiencing widespread dementia. It seems to be related to some artifact they found on the planet. Something called the Marker. I'll keep looking.
Now, back to something a little bit more difficult to get running on your PC. This you could get running very similar to how we got Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster running. This is Amber: Journeys Beyond. This is a really, really obscure game, and from what I understand, it's made by a two-person team. This game very much is like Myst or Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster. It's a point-and-click puzzle game. This game is all about exploring the afterlife, ghosts, spirits, and it has a rich, deep atmosphere. I personally had a lot of trouble getting this to run, so much so that I couldn't really use most of the audio for this recording because the audio in the game just kept stuttering over and over again. The game itself played fine, but one of the most important things about Amber: Journeys Beyond is its rich atmosphere and sound design. The acting is really good. Everything about the game is just so spooky and creepy. I used to play this with my buddy Ryan. We really liked this game. It's quite difficult. I never really managed to finish it, but I have watched playthroughs of it online, which is probably the best way to get the story. But you're basically investigating one of your friends that is passed out, and they're supposed to be entering the spirit world through this piece of machinery that they developed because they're quite a supernatural inventor, genius type person. And I really, really enjoy it. It's a beautiful type of game, and I really wish somebody out there would make a version of this game available on goodoldgames.com or Steam or one of those digital platforms. Get it up and running really, really well so any modern system could play this game and enjoy it. Amber's Journey Beyond came out in 1995. It's a really old game designed by, again, two people, Frank Wimmer and Susan Wimmer. Those two people are absolute geniuses, in my opinion. And it was developed by Hue Force Entertainment. There's been no other game that quite had this kind of atmosphere and this unique take on the supernatural. Amber's Journey Beyond is another reason why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to spread awareness to you. This is just a really interesting game. This is another game that I also have a full-blown big box copy of. I'm a huge fan of this game. I highly recommend playing it if you can get it to run. I'm pretty sure it's on internetarchive.org, but that doesn't really run that well, at least not for me. The only way I've been getting the game to run well is by actually putting it on one of my old Windows 95 computers and installing it that way. But that's a really difficult way to capture gaming, and I may do that in the future and do a full playthrough of this game, or at least do a full review of it, because I really want to spread awareness, and I really want to thank the developers of this game, the Wimmer family, for making such a unique, amazing game. I went from playing Myst to playing Amber and just being blown away by how much more this game had to offer as far as the storyline. The digitized graphics look really beautiful. The art direction was beautiful. The music and sound design is just so incredibly spooky. It's a beautiful game. I highly recommend Amber: Journeys Beyond.
Sometimes you get what you wish for. The necromancer Mortanius offered me a chance for vengeance, and like a fool, I jumped at his offer without considering the cost. Nothing is free, not even revenge.
Let's really switch it up this time. This game isn't necessarily scary or terrifying, but it's about vampires, and I love vampire stuff. This is one of the best vampire games actually ever made, in my opinion. And this is a long series of games. There's 4 real games in this series. I would say the most famous game in the series is probably Soul Reaver. But Blood Omen: Legacy of Kain, when it originally came out in 1996 on the PlayStation 1 and Microsoft Windows, I freaking love this game. It is basically a vampiric version of Legend of Zelda with pre-rendered graphics. It was made by Silicon Knights and published by Crystal Dynamics. This game is famous for its really, really good voice acting, and Kain himself overgoes quite a bit of character arcs, and he's quite the villain. I remember this being one of the first games I ever played as a kid where you play as a bad guy, you play as a villain, and he's definitely the main antagonist of Soul Reaver. And they do bring him back as a main character in Blood Omen 2, and you can play as him. But there's just something really special about this game. And they're remaking Soul Reaver 1 and 2 because, again, they're a lot more popular in the series, which kind of was weird to me. Like, let's at least get an HD remake of this. But this is a really easy game to play. I'm not going to recommend playing it through a computer, honestly. I would play this game on PlayStation 1. It's really a lot better experience using a controller because I don't think the PC version has any controller support, which is really difficult, in my opinion, to play this game. But it's very deep, great voice acting, incredible sound design and music, and there's a lot of RPG mechanics here that are even deeper than Legends of Zelda in a lot of ways, because you get a lot of items and a lot of spells. You get to suck the blood out of people from like far away. Really, really great game. Blood Omen Legacy of Kain is definitely the most slept on game in the series and the most forgotten. It's also the oldest. So if you want to play this game, pick it up on the PlayStation Store or, digitally, or pick it up, as a PlayStation 1 game. It's typically not very expensive, but it's really, really good. Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, for me, is one of my favorite games.
I want to do it! I won't face your volcano or your god! Go away!
Ugh, these beds are filthy. How horrible! What kind of place is this?
Okay, I've got one final game for you guys, and I appreciate everybody that made it this far in the video. This is the creme de la creme, the absolute icing on the cake when it comes to absolute fever dream, nightmare-inducing horror game. It is, again, a graphical adventure / point-and-click game. Came out in 1998, originally on Windows. You can play this game on iOS and Android. I've heard the controls are a little bit challenging, but I'm pretty sure they offer mouse support. This is a puzzler, a really interesting, dynamic game with some of the best sound design and really good voice acting. You wake up as some amnesiac in an insane asylum after wrecking your car and your face is bandaged. You don't know who you are, what you look like, you don't know what's real. You're hallucinating all these things, or these really things that are happening. There are different points in this game that are very, very unique, very graphic, extremely adult. Me and my buddy Ryan, we played this game as well, and I'm pretty sure we were probably too young to play this. This game may have actually scarred us for life. It was made by Dreamforge Entertainment, and yeah, this is a really disturbing game. I would say that you have to really explore this game a lot on your own. I wouldn't look up any walkthroughs for this. You really want to experience this game. You want to experience what it's like for the first time, and luckily it's available for everyone to play. Sanitarium on PC. This is the Windows version. I got it on GOG for, again, like really cheap. I think I paid like $2 for this game. It's normally like $10, but it's a heck of a deal. Another game that needs more awareness. It looks beautiful, has pre-rendered graphics, which tend to hold up really well. Think about how good Donkey Kong Country still looks, or Mario RPG. Well, this is another game that uses similar graphics, really beautiful art direction, really disturbing storyline in this game. A lot of people don't make it past this first part, but there's a lot more going on in this game than just a sanitarium setting, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but this game has a long and winding storyline and has a lot of twists that you will not expect. There's supernatural things, there's demonic things, there's really, really good sound design, again, which, as you can tell, is very important to me. And I think that the opening movie to this game still looks really cool. This is one of those that you really are surprised they never adapted into like a film, or maybe even like made other games in this series. There's only one Sanitarium, and you can play it on PC, iOS, like on your iPad, or Android. And I highly recommend Sanitarium. Spooky, creeped out freaking game. Enjoy. And hey, thanks again for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you really enjoyed this. I love making these compilation videos that showcase all these different games. There were some pretty obscure games on here, like Amber and Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster. And even this game right here, Sanitarium. Not a lot of people necessarily know about this game. So check it out. And thanks again for watching. And happy Halloween!
Hey, who are you?
Oh my God, don't! My God.
Big one.